Party on, Todd.
Party on, Sal.
Rock on.
Rock on.
Rock on. Well, welcome back, POJCasters, to another episode of the Party on John cast. This is Reverend Sal Marco, a validated minister in the Presbytery of Newton and the PCUSA, serving in healthcare chaplaincy in the town of Newton.
Always needing to be validated.
Validate me, please.
And I am Todd Laddick. I am an ordained elder in the Greater New Jersey Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, serving a congregation, a most excellent congregation in Newton, New Jersey, on higher ground from Sal.
The only higher ground I give him.
Because God gave it to me.
Preordained.
All right. Okay, so perfect. Well, I guess that's our introduction. Now, the last few episodes, we really kind of have. Well, let's say we've had some pretty awesome pretty rockin' special guests. But today it's just Sal and I, back to the roots. Just us. It's good. So anyway, and that brings us to our Brews segment.
Percolated edition. Yes. Hey, Todd, how do you know that God loves coffee?
How, Sal?
He wrote about it in the book of Hebrews.
Ooh.
Actually, there's another variation of that joke maybe we should try next month. I'll leave it at that.
Let's try that. Okay.
All right.
So
I was going to say, what are you drinking? But it's what are we drinking? We're drinking the same coffee.
We are drinking the same coffee, and that coffee happens to be Starbucks Guatemala Casa Cielo Antiqua medium roast coffee, single origin from Latin America. And it is pretty good. Yeah, Guatemala.
It's medium roast?
Yeah, medium roast and full of body, hints of chocolate. Now, if we were French pressing this, we would get a bit more of the flavor notes, but percolated just makes a solid, bold cup of coffee. So what we're getting is bold chocolate and maybe slight hints of maybe citrus, but it's mostly bold chocolate coffee.
I think I like this more than their Pike's Place.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, this is
not as bitter.
Not as bitter. This is you want a good, solid cup of coffee. Get this and either percolate it. I'm sure if you drip it, it'll taste good, but either percolate it or French press. Either way, those are the best types of coffee to have are the ones where you might end up with sediment at the bottom. That's just the way it works. So, yeah.
Definitely French press.
Definitely French press or percolated. If you have to do drip, I'm sure it'll taste good in that too.
I'm guessing you can't get this in a K-cup.
No, I don't think you can get this in a K-cup. Yeah. It goes like this, folks, right? Like French press, percolated, drip. And then K-cup. Yep.
And I think this coffee, actually, because I was looking it up online before I came over, I think they actually change it. They change the source every year. Right?
Every year, yeah. This is a special single origin roast that comes from. What single origin means is it comes from one place. Typically, when you buy coffee, like if you get like Maxwell House or even Dunkin' Donuts, they will take the beans from several different locations, roast them, and you have your coffee. Single origin means they only took the beans from a farm in Guatemala, in Antiqua, and that is it. Like
whatever they make is what they make.
Yeah, so it's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
We have something else, don't we?
We do.
Ooh.
So we actually, this is a sort of a hint at our next episode.
This is a hint at our next episode. Yes.
We'll be having a seminary classmate of mine on our episode next month, and he suggested that we get, I'm probably going to say it wrong, Salmiakki.
Salmiakki, it sounds good.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's basically salt licorice from Finland. So package actually came yesterday from Helsinki.
Salmiakki. That's what it is. Salmiakki. Salmiakki is the Japanese version.
Hey, I lived in Japan.
Yeah, I know.
So salmiakki, it's licorice, salt licorice, which is popular over in Scandinavia and Germany.
Listen to this. I'm having a sword fight. Now I lost my... Oh, there it is. Yes.
So it's basically licorice, salt licorice, like
I wonder what it does if you take a sip of coffee with it in your mouth.
Let me know.
Makes the coffee taste delicious. Go figure. That's really good.
So it's very popular, and so to find out why we're eating Finnish candy treats, listen to next one.
Yeah, and actually, I'll even give you one more hint. Not only listen to next one, but blast your radio with heavy metal or hard rock, and make the devil horns. Yes.
But compared to American or United States licorice, well, it's salt licorice, so it's saltier, but there's really
not much sugar, if any.
It's mostly just the licorice.
But it's really good. And I find that America is like load everything up with sugar. Yeah. That's just what it is. Like, can I have a little coffee with my sugar, please? Can I have a little cookie with my sugar, please? You know, like, and we bite into a scone and we go, ugh, what's this? It's real. That's what it is. It's not masked by sugar.
Yep.
But these are really good. These are really good, and the salt brings out the flavor of the licorice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's good. So because I ordered it from Finland, I got 4 little packages of it. That was the only option that I had, so I'll have plenty for next month too. And maybe I'll leave some with Todd so we can enjoy it.
Oh, you're the best, and I probably will have to buy some for myself now. I think I'm hooked. $10 for 4 of them.
For 4. Yeah, straight from Finland.
Well, we'll support Finland. Yeah.
There's also a brand from Germany. But this is what Blake sent me, so.
And we'll have to look for Norwegian while we're at it too. And throw Denmark in there while we're at it. We'll get all Scandinavian Viking countries together and sample their food.
Another hint at next month.
Yeah, another hint. Dropping hints left and right.
Left and right.
So, well, that would be our Brews segment, which brings us to our most excellent music segment.
A little shocking. You want to go first?
I'll go first. No, you go first.
Okay. Well, keeping up the Scandinavian theme, I didn't know what to listen to or to review today, so I went with the first band that ever really got me into metal, I guess you can say, got me into at least hair metal. Band from Sweden by the name of Europe. Go figure.
Go figure.
Europe from Sweden. So their big hit that came out that really made them a household name was The Vinyl Countdown, which was my first cassette I ever bought in 1987. But they had some stuff before that. So in the early 90s, they broke up. But in 2004, the original lineup came back together. Because the original lineup changed after the Vinyl Countdown tour because John Norum, their guitarist, left.
Okay.
Went solo. But in 2004, they all came back together and put out a album called Start From the Dark. And so it's a really good album, but the song I chose is called Roll With You, R-O-L-L, Roll With You. This album, surprisingly, has some very spiritual / religious themes to it. Like the first single off the album was called Gotta Have Faith. There's another song called Reason. There must be a reason why you're keeping me alive. There must be a reason a God exists. That's another cool song. I almost did that song, but... So Roll With Me... the way you listen to it, depending how you listen to it, it's either a love song for your significant other, or you could interpret it as a love song from God.
Okay.
Tell me if you hear that in the lyrics. When you feel out of place, let me revolve around you. When your light fades, I have the strength to find you. When what you're feeling is too intense, and the darkness seems to draw you in, I roll with you. When you're so sorry and don't know why, it came to be a sad time in your life. I'll roll with you. We'll get you through. When you shut your eyes, I'll show you the images you're missing. When you've heard enough, through me, you can listen. When what you're feeling's too intense, repeats the chorus. And then it fades out with, when you feel out of place, let me revolve around you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a very simple song, but, you could interpret that as, God wanting to be present with you, and it's very much about grief and...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely hear that.
We'll put a link to it in the notes.
So there we go, from Europe. And where are they from again?
Sweden.
Okay. We'll put a link in the episode notes. And so I'm going to do one that has no profound meaning whatsoever. But, first off, I'm going to have to post this. It's technically after Christmas, but my friend sent me a mashup between Marilyn Manson and Mariah Carey. If you can picture that mashup. It's called All I Want for Christmas is the Beautiful People. And it's just really cool. It's like weird, but it's not weird in a bad way. It actually kind of works. And so you just have to listen for yourself.
Didn't he just put out like a cover? Like I sent you recently a cover he did of something.
Yeah, I think he did. And my other friend Eugene tagged me in a post with this, and I was just like, "What?" So anyway, we'll put the post in that for you to check out. It's basically a mashup of the two videos, "All I Want for Christmas Is You" and "The Beautiful People" together. So you've got some pretty awesome Mariah Carey Christmas classic mixed with some pretty awesome, not so pretty Marilyn Manson imagery being put together in one. If you have the stomach for it, watch it out. It's pretty cool. It's not, I shouldn't say if you have the stomach for it, it's not terrible. It's nothing really too bad in there, but he's just weird. So if you can put up with his weirdness, it's not all him, it's some of Mariah too. So, and somehow The Beautiful People fits into the song.
It fits. There's like a whole YouTube channel dedicated to mashing songs together. Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy. So, I also have another song that I've been listening a lot to, a band called Moonspell. And I'll just say this about them. They are not Christian by any stretch of the imagination, but they're another metal band that comes out of Europe, and they really have... really are kind of almost, in some ways, kind of like pioneers of the goth metal scene. Mm-hmm. So they're perfect mashup of like screaming metal, but the guy can sing, and goth. And so they deal with a lot of issues. They really kind of stand opposed to the church. So a lot of their music is kind of like flipping the church on its head. And this is no doubt one of those things. So it's called Lickanthrope as opposed to Lickanthrope. Now, anybody who knows what lycanthropia is, it's the condition of thinking you're becoming a werewolf. People have taken that and made movies off of it where someone has lycanthropia and they become an actual werewolf, but the actual mental illness itself is a real thing. And so they did a play on the words. Instead of lycanthrope, lickanthrope, and of course it's kind of like breaking free from the traditional. I'm going to imagine Roman Catholic looking down on sexuality, human sexuality, mm-hmm. And we have to understand that this band is from Portugal. So they're Catholic, mm-hmm. They're Catholic there predominantly. So they're kind of rebelling against that in these words. And it's also playing on Little Red Riding Hood, which is a really cool thing. The reason why I'm really picking this video is because I love the band. I love this particular song just because of the imagery, and I've been listening to it a lot lately, and it's just a really super cool video if you're into like horror. It's not like anything. I wouldn't let your kids watch it, but if you're an adult, it's nothing that's going to scare you or shock you, but it's just cool. It's just a cool theme. So Sort of. It's there's a bit of sexuality in there. So
this is a video you sent me.
I sent it to you. So be warned. There is a little bit of sexuality in there.
As an adult, you're like, okay, this is cool, but
it's cool.
As a kid, you don't want to.
You don't want your kids seeing this, no. But it's cool. The sexuality is there, but it's not terrible. I mean, it's not like over the top terrible.
Nothing more than you'd see on your.
Yeah, if you can handle a Madonna video, this is actually less than that. So
go figure.
So there you go. Anyway. So wolves gleam in human eyes, stealing tears from divine. Break of hope, break of necks, hand on leash, can't go wrong, Lickanthrope. Heart of a wolf breaking the bitter skin. Under the chaos, under the moon, the pack is gathering. Little red, riding hoods, Godspeeds, prostitute. Under the stars, under Venus, the flock keeps giving. The night swallows the day, her lips find a way. We don't want to be saved, Lickanthrope, Lickanthrope. Veil of a queen tying the hands of the king in the name of the species. Under the silks, let the games begin. Little red riding hoods, Godspeed, you're destitute. Under the stars, under Venus, the clock is ticking. And then he goes into this howling thing where he changes into the wolf. I mean, it's just an awesome video. I could go on and on and on. Anyway, again, there's nothing like profound in a Christian sense to pull from this, except, and I would say the same thing about Marilyn Manson, bad theology perpetrated by people in power ends up in causing people to rebel. And when I think of any good tragedy out there, any heroic tragedy where the hero becomes tragic, where the hero falls, that usually is because the things that are burdened upon the hero are too much for them to bear, and there's a system that is egging that on.
Right.
That's supposed to be helping them, but it's actually not helping them. And so we see that in Marilyn Manson. We see that in Moonspell. We see that in these other things that are. We would look at them and say, "Oh, you sinners! Come back to turn or burn!" Right? But we're the ones that put them there. In a lot of ways, we're the ones. Our theology is the ones that push them away.
Right. Sounds a lot like the folks that Rev Leviathan are.
Yeah. Oh, Rev Leviathan will appreciate this this song. So if he hasn't heard it already.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, Moonspell's a really fun band. You don't have to believe something to listen to it. Right. Just keep that in mind.
Very cool.
I listen to Madonna. I don't believe everything she says. Nope. Same thing. So. Cool. But good music, yeah. So that is our most
excellent music section.
Absolutely. So rock on.
Rock on. I almost chose another 80s band who reunited with their original lineup in 2004, Duran Duran. Maybe I'll do that at some point.
I love Duran Duran. Yeah.
Anyway, now for... I've closed my phone.
Oh, we're going to get into our Fave Movies segment.
Fave Movie segment.
Mm-hmm. And this is our Fave Movies of 2019 with maybe an exception or two because they kind of bordered the 2018-2019 line.
I can't wait for the movies next year because then I'll have 2020 vision.
2020 vision.
I told that I had to get that in there somehow.
Are you all ready for 2020 vision? Please don't be because it's not... Well, it is 2020 now.
It is.
But the movies aren't out yet.
The movies aren't out yet.
Keep forgetting what year we're in.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
you want to start it off?
Yeah, I'll start us off. So, okay, my list of favorite movies would have to be... definitely... and we just had them out, didn't we? We were just talking about them. So my favorite list of movies would have to be, let's see here. You know what was a really good one was, Pet Sematary came out this year. Pet Sematary was a good movie. Definitely. Pet Sematary. Dumbo came out this year. That was a lot of fun. Not that I'm a Disney fan or anything. Us came out this year. That came out back in March. And that's from the same guy that directed Get Out. What I love about, and I forget his name off the top of my head, but what I love about his films is they deal with social justice issues, especially race, and he pulls the horror out of them and makes these horror stories. So Us was a really good, really awesome film.
It's on Netflix now, I think.
It is, yes, and it's a worthy watch. I definitely recommend watching it. And also John Wick 3. If you're into the John Wick series, like they just keep getting better. And from what I understand, John Wick 4 and now a Matrix movie is coming out in the coming year.
John Wick 4 and Matrix 4 are coming out right around the same time.
And guess what's also coming out in 2020? Bill and Ted's.
Which just released their first pictures from the movie.
Keanu, man. Keanu is taking the theater by storm. And so, yeah. And then Rocket Man. Oh, my God. If you haven't seen Rocket Man and you have any sort of... You don't have to listen to his music regularly, but if you have any sort of respect for Elton John, and you should, Rocket Man's a phenomenal film. What's his name? Taron Egerton really, like, brought that role home, really became the role. And, of course, 2019 was also the year that... Avengers Endgame came out. That was just phenomenal.
It was a good movie.
It's just such a good movie. And then I would say, I mean, I could list. There's been a whole bunch of really good movies, but The Joker has to be on the top. Has to be on top. I just hands down cannot think of anybody, Tom Hanks or onward, that did a better acting job in any role more than I could think of Joaquin Phoenix. I don't know if it gets the best picture, but it should definitely get best actor.
His acting was great.
His acting was great. Like, it was just flawless. I don't know how you do a better job than he did. And then, of course, A Beautiful Day in This Neighborhood. And, yeah. So, was there any other movie I was going to mention?
Well, you're going to mention one that I'm going to mention.
Okay.
One of my favorites was Shazam.
Oh, Shazam! How could I forget? And that came out in February, right in the heart of Lent.
Yep.
It was a beautiful film.
It was a beautiful movie. Like, super spiritual. Like, even actually deals with the seven deadly sins.
7 deadly sins, right in the heart of Lent. It transcends the superhero genre.
Yeah.
And yet is a superhero movie, no doubt.
Yeah. I went into that not expecting a good movie, because I'm generally not a DC fan.
See, I am a DC fan, but they're better on their shows than they traditionally have been. Minus quite a few Batman movies and Superman. Those are their like staples in the movies, and when they try to go out of that, it kind of fails. So Shazam was like this character that probably many people didn't even know existed if you're not a DC fan, and they come out with a movie on it, and it looks kind of goofy from the previews.
Yeah, I went into it thinking, because everyone's like, oh, it's just DC's attempt to be Deadpool.
It was better.
And it was better.
It was better than Deadpool.
Like, Deadpool's a good movie, but
oh yeah,
Shazam was good. This was technically a 2018 movie, but Bohemian Rhapsody was good.
And
he won.
Yeah, Rami won
in 2019, but I think they do that on purpose. They release it towards the end of the year. That was good. I don't know if you saw The Irishman on Netflix.
I've not seen The Irishman because it's like 3.5 hours long.
It's 3.5 hours. I had to do it in 2 sittings, but it's good. It's a really good movie.
I hear it's kind of slow though.
It's a little slow.
It takes its time.
It does take its time. So
wasn't that in the theater simultaneously as it was in Netflix?
It was released initially in the theaters, because Netflix does that now, because they have to, in order to be eligible for the awards, it has to be in theaters.
Okay.
So,
and then they kind of simultaneously put it on Netflix, so you can go see it either way.
They'll put it out in theaters for like a month and then take it out.
Yeah, cool.
But I'm surprised you didn't mention It Chapter 2.
Oh, It Chapter 2! I dropped a whole bunch of horror movies. Yes.
I'm not a big horror fan, and that was a really good movie.
And I am, so that's really kind of a role reversal for us. Yeah, It Chapter 2 is really good.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Of course, I did not get, at least as of this recording, did not get out to see the remake of the cult classic Black Christmas.
Black Christmas? Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the 70s version, but it actually has quite a cast. It has Olivia Hussey and John Saxon and a whole bunch of like big names, and actually has a pretty good rating review-wise. And they kind of... it was an influence for movies like Halloween, and it came out in '74, so it came out before Halloween. It was an influence for Halloween, and they kind of look at it as a precursor for slasher films. Who knew?
Yep.
So they remade it. I've yet to see it.
And the last one I'll mention is I don't know if you saw Dolomite Is My Name with Eddie Murphy.
Dolomite.
No. And it's kind of the story around Dolomite, the guy who became Dolomite, that started off the whole black exploitation movies in the 70s.
Oh, yeah. Like Shaft and Blackula.
Yeah.
I own Blackula. I'm not ashamed to admit that.
So, that was a funny movie if you're into like the comedy drama.
Cool. So, and that is that on Netflix or?
It's on Netflix.
I'll have to check that out. And I like Eddie Murphy too. So cool.
All right.
So that's our fave movie segment.
Our favorite movie segment.
If you have any of your favorite movies that we may have missed, by all means,
tweet them at us.
Tweet them at us. I know that there are some really good ones that I'm missing. So if you can think of one, it's possible. It's not impossible. It's probable I've seen it. By the way, friends, if you're a moviegoer and even if you make it to the movies once a month, get A-List. A-List is a member. If you have AMC near you, A-List is a membership, a monthly subscription, $20 a month. You get up to 3 movies a week. It does not matter which showing you go to, which theater. It could be IMAX, Dolby. It doesn't matter which one you go to. It's $20 a month for 3 movies a week. That's a total of probably 12 movies a month. Yep. It more than pays for itself.
It does. I'm interested in getting that. The only drawback that I see of it, and this is different from you because you enjoy going to movies by yourself. I actually enjoy going to the movies with my wife.
Yeah. And $40 a month.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're both going, it still pays for itself. But
it'd be nice if they somehow made it so you could have 2 people on the.
Yeah, or gave it a little bit of discount so you're not paying $40. But I mean, if you look at it this way, if Allison enjoys going to the movies with you, and you go about once a month, then
you've paid for
it's still paid for itself as long as you go once a month or more.
Yeah, you figured $20, $30 for tickets, and then $20 to $30 for refreshments.
That's right. Yeah. So so long as you're going to the expensive showings, it pays for itself. Or you're paying like $2 a ticket at that point. So I mean, it's still worth it. But anyway,
all right.
So that's our fave movie.
Fave movies.
So you think AMC's going to throw any royalties our way for that? Any like?
Better. I doubt it.
It
would be nice if they did.
I just totally promoted them. Okay, so that brings us then to.
Here we go again.
Hey, Sal.
Yeah, Todd.
Here we go again.
It
Hey. Okay.
seems like I can't believe this is our second January New Year episode.
Yeah, it was right around this time last year that we went outside. We had an emergency that we took care of together, and then we went outside in our clergy collars and created a video saying, Guess what? When the ball drops, our episode drops.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If you're listening to this now, you know that because the ball has dropped.
You have since watched the ball drop.
Yes.
And while you're still asleep recovering, this will have dropped.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I mean, like, here we go again.
Another year.
Another year
of resolutions that we won't keep.
Every year, and we probably talked about this last year, and we'll talk about it again next year, but every year, Sal, it's the same thing. Goodbye, 2019. Hello, 2020. Woo! It's going to be a great year. I'm going to get rich, and everything's going to work my way. And then we get to March, and we realize, this year sucks.
I've learned to not make resolutions, because if I keep the bar low, I have to go over it.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. So no resolutions. If you accomplish something, you therefore have
gone far and above.
Yeah.
I just.
Think about this, Sal. You could put no resolutions out there. You fart, and you've already done it. You've accomplished more than you set out to accomplish.
And mine don't stink, so there you go.
Well, of course not, and that's preordained.
No, I actually made a flyer today at my place of work, and scheduled my first funeral of 2020.
Oh boy!
And I started making the flyer, and I went to hit print, and I was like, I had to go back and put 2020. It felt weird to write 2020.
That is weird, yeah. It is weird. And actually, I've already started planning. God help me. I've already started planning my Lent sermon series, and to put 2020 down in a folder, and let alone March, like February and March. Like, this shouldn't be, but it is. It is. So there's a lot of things to dread and look forward to in 2020. So here's how my 2019. You want me to start with how my 2019 went? Okay, my 2019 went something like this. We're going to skip over the first 6 months. And then in the 6th month of 2019, I got into a car accident and tore my meniscus in my right leg, my right knee. That was really fun. And then the rest of the summer, I hobbled around and couldn't do much because my meniscus was torn. Then in the fall of 2019, I was put onto a medication that caused my blood pressure to completely tank, and I passed out and broke my front tooth. And so now I wear what's called a flipper, which is basically a retainer with a tooth, one single tooth attached to it. So when I have that in, you can't really tell. My voice is a little different, but mostly you can't tell that I have it in.
If you listen to our December episode, you may have heard some of the...
Oh, you could tell then.
The lispiness of that.
Yeah, you could tell then because that was brand new and the tooth wasn't even. They had to shave it down and stuff. So yeah, so then following my flipper getting put in, the flipper was like a big snaggle tooth because it didn't fit right. So then I had to keep that for a couple weeks until I went back, got the stitches out, and they shaved the tooth down. Now it fits right. So it's been... Oh, and then I had meniscus surgery. Right. So yeah, it's been grand.
Good times.
Good times. Let's go 2020.
Yay, 2020.
and the reason why I'm saying this is, friends, no matter what, you'll always you'll have hope for everything working your way in the next year, and then reality hits. The universe doesn't work your way.
Yep.
Life happens, and then you'll be at the same place next year going, goodbye to the previous year, hello to the new one. Yep. I mean, it's like, when do we get nauseous with this cycle? Sorry, Sal.
Yep. For me, 2019, Allison and I did have a pretty rough 2018.
You had a pretty rough 2018. Yeah.
So we started 2019 with, hey, it's got to get better from here. So I started 2019 3 months in March, turning 40. Did you ever, when you were a kid, go on a calculator and try to figure out, all right, in this year I'll be this old? And like, I could never imagine when I was 12 that in 2019 I would be 40 years old.
I know, isn't that crazy? Yeah.
But here I am. So most of 2019 was pretty good. There was no major life events for Allison. We didn't lose anyone in her family, so there was, it was a good time. I turned 40.
In fact, you didn't lose someone, but you did gain someone.
We did gain, so that's the thing I'm looking forward to in 2020 is I will have a son.
Yeah. I mean, technically, you do have a son right now, but you can't cuddle with him.
I do. I can't hold him
unless you hold Allison's stomach, which she may smack you for doing so.
We went for the 20-week ultrasound yesterday. Got to see his face and him sucking his thumb and his toes. He was doing yoga.
Yay!
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, 2020 overall was not a bad year for me. I mean, the main thing that I didn't have the physical ailments that Todd had, although I think the first 6 months of being 40, I was like, hey, this is not bad. And like, actually, like, my 40th birthday felt much better than my 30th. I think because I felt like in my 30s, I actually got to a good place in my career, got to a good place with my relationship with Allison.
Yeah.
So that's 2019, but we're looking forward to 2020 because
lots of good things
are happening.
Oh, before we get off, we forgot to mention one thing about 2019 that is going to be awesome, and I'm going to see it on Thursday.
That's right.
Speaking of Star Wars.
Forgot to include in our favorite movies.
Yeah, we're going to see, I don't know when you're going to see it, but I have a ticket to go see it Thursday evening. And that's pre-opening night. It technically comes out on Friday, but they're they're putting it out on Thursday evening. And I cannot wait to see The Rise of Skywalker. I confess that right now, we're recording on a Tuesday. I have watched all Star Wars movies, including Solo and Rogue One, and all I have left are The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and I've watched them all. So that's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, it's literally the end of a era.
It's the end of an era, yeah. And this one looks so good. And the other great thing about 2019 is Disney Plus and The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. I mean, The Mandalorian is just so great. Awesome. Baby Yoda, folks. Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Cutest thing ever.
Cutest thing ever. It's created some awesome memes out of it. So.
I'll never forget him fighting with another bounty hunter on the ground, and all of a sudden you hear... And they both look over, and there's Baby Yoda holding a teacup, sipping tea.
I don't know if you caught it, but the kids are watching him, and he starts eating a frog.
Yes.
And he stops and he pulls it out.
Because he realizes they're getting all grossed out by what he's eating. Yeah. He's great. So right now, 6 episodes have been released.
We're releasing episode 7 early because of the movie coming out. So episode 7 will be out tomorrow.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so episode 7 will be out tomorrow. But they come out every Friday, basically.
Every Friday. Episode 7 will be out tomorrow because I guess they're giving you a sneak preview.
And here's the thing. If you're not a Star Wars fan, but you're a Western fan, you might like this. This is a combination. It's called a space Western. It's a combination of sci-fi, but also the traditional like spaghetti Western style, the lone gunslinger coming into town. Like it has that feel to it. The music even has that feel to it. Yep. And it's just everything that's good about the Star Wars world. Yeah. And everything that is good about a Western thrown into one. And our friend Drew from the God and Whiskey podcast said, like, besides the original trilogy and Rogue One, this is the best thing that has ever happened to the Star Wars franchise. Yep. And I agree.
It's pretty good.
I agree. And I do like the new trilogy. You know, I do like it. Some people kind of ripped on Last Jedi. It was not my favorite of the two that have come out thus far, but I don't think it needs to be ripped on. But we have fickle fans in the Star Wars.
We do. There's I like how they've tied because The Mandalorian takes place 5 years after
The Empire Falls,
the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So there's some nice tie-ins to the original trilogy.
There are.
There's even a reference to the booth in the cantina where Greedo says McClunky.
Yeah.
Worst edition ever, by the way.
What's that?
Have you seen the whole... Did you notice that when
you
rewatched?
Yeah.
McClunky,
yeah.
Why, George, why would you do that?
And the other thing that they referenced were the prequels in the latest episode. He says, perhaps you're a Gunkin. Yusa not comfortable with being here? Which I thought was pretty funny because the Gunkins were the literally the worst thing that ever happened to the Star Wars franchise. Jar Jar Binks.
Who don't know, Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. Misa happy. Okay, so
there's a theory that Jar Jar was actually a Sith Lord.
There is that theory, and they thought that what's his name, the guy that was commanding Kylo Ren. Snoke. Yeah, Commander Snoke. There was the rumor that they thought that Commander Snoke was Jar Jar Binks, and that clearly turned out to not be. Yeah. Thankfully. Snoke did not need that.
No.
So back to 2020, the things that I look forward to in 2020. Another year with the Party on John cast. Yes. We have some really awesome things lined up. By the way, you may not know this on this end, on your end of listening to things, but we are actually recording on 2 microphones.
2 microphones. It only took us a year and a half to figure this out.
Yes, but we're recording on 2 microphones plugged into one computer. So that our voices are hopefully even, and my voice will always be louder. I can't help that.
It's just the nature of it.
But
preordained.
But when we're not like hovering over one mic, it makes it hard. It makes it easier.
Yeah. So hopefully this will make it less awkward for our future guests.
here's what we're hoping. Yeah.
So open.
Yeah. So, a lot of good things coming up in 2020. I try not to. Here's the thing. Jesus said, "And what do you profit? What do you gain by what do you gain to your life by worrying about a single thing? Can any of you gain by worrying?" And Jesus tells us not to worry. That we should. He said, "Look at the lilies of the field; they were more grandly dressed than all of the people in Solomon's court, and yet do you not think that God will also take care of you? And look at the birds of the air; they neither toil nor spin, yet God provides their every needs. Do you not think God will do the same for you? So do not worry." And Jesus is always saying this. He says to his disciples, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not let them be afraid." God throughout the Bible says, "Fear not, I am with you." So I try not to get, I don't know about you, but I try not to get too caught up with what is going to happen in 2020 or in any year, because you just can't predict it. And then you get your hopes up and things don't go the way you're hoping. And then to me, it takes away from your life.
Right. You just made me think of, and I like that theme of Jesus telling us not to worry. And if you look at the ending, the very last verse of Matthew, he says, "And remember, I'm with you always to the end of the age."
To the end of the age, yeah.
So, it's, yeah. I mean, Todd and I are both guys that struggle with anxiety. But 6 years in for me into this whole ministry thing and learning, okay, finding ways to deal with that anxiety and trying not to worry, but ultimately knowing that it's in God's hands.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just realizing that, you know what, in 2020 I'm going to be no less human than I was in 2019.
Yep.
Or no more human than I was in 2019. I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to have some pretty awesome successes as well. And trusting that God is working in me and through me despite me. You know, that's to me. That's what I think. You know, it was like, and I did just watch Return of the Jedi, when Luke comes back to the planet, the Dagobah system, and he comes back to find Yoda, and Yoda's dying. And Yoda says, "You become 900 years old and see how you do," which I thought was pretty funny. And while you're at it, Sal, I will take seconds as well. Sal is pouring more coffee because we are the coffee guys. So anyway, he's on Dagobah system, and he's looking for Yoda, and he finds Yoda, and Yoda's pretty much dying. And he says, "But you can't die. I still have to finish my training with you." And Yoda says, "Everything you need, you already have." And so Luke's like, "Oh, so I am a Jedi." And Yoda looks at him sideways and says, "Not yet. You first have to learn how to fail."
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, you know, like so I think there's much wisdom in what Yoda says there. We're constantly looking so far into the future to proclaim we're something we're not. And we're also afraid of what lingers on in the past behind us, and we fail to live in the moment, you know. And we're looking for all of these exterior things to give us what God has already gifted us with, which I think is theologically, spiritually problematic for us.
YOLO,
yeah, YOLO.
But yeah, we looking forward to the future with our soon-to-be child. We were in church on Sunday, and part of the sermon was our priest was mentioning, Advent and Christmas is about Jesus creating a new thing, new creation. And right at that moment, the baby kicked.
Oh.
Like stirred.
Yeah.
And
good timing.
Perfect timing. So Alice is like, "I'm like Calvin just kicked." And I was like, "Oh, like John and Elizabeth when he met Jesus."
Yeah.
So looking to the future with excitement and kind of knowing a side note, like I'm kind of fascinated with the fact that our child will be born in 2020, and so like he'll be at like even like he'll be 10 in 2030.
Yeah,
he'll be 20 in 2040.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. That's my OCD brain.
Well, because he's born on an even year, just like my oldest was born on a 0 year. So whatever year it is the year she is, and that's pretty pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked your analogy to Yoda telling Luke he has to fail.
Yeah.
Like, because joking with Allison about like how are we gonna mess this kid up? Meaning like we're not gonna try to mess the kid up, but we're gonna be parents and we're gonna fail at things. We're not gonna be perfect parents. And we're gonna provide for him that our parents couldn't provide for us, or they tried to provide for us. Each generation tries to do better for their children.
Yeah.
But we're gonna mess something up. I mean, I'm sure that when he's 40, there's gonna be stuff he tells us that we messed up.
And the beautiful thing is, you're also this is beautiful but scary at the same time. You'll also have those moments where you realize those certain areas that you thought your parents messed up, they were actually right, and you find yourself doing the same thing.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh, I get it. Didn't get it then, but I get it now. I think. I think it's parenthood. I mean, I had somebody used to always say, they don't come out with manuals, and they don't. And they're, when you're expecting, especially on your first child, second child, you're kind of like, been there, done that. But in the first child, you get all of these like what to expect when you're expecting books, and you start reading. And I wouldn't change that for the life of me because you're excited, you're getting ready for it. But you'll find out some of those things are very helpful. Other thing, I mean, there isn't a single book out there that will fit your child to a T and fit your parental experience to a T. They can offer advice, but basically, you're going to need to live in the moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got a book. We got a book this weekend from someone at the barn that it's shit they don't tell you about your baby. So I'm looking forward to reading that one.
I dated myself with what to expect when you're expecting, I think. Probably. Anyway, so lots to look forward to. This past December 2019, and here's a good example of being willing to fail. I've started a partnership with our local college, our local community college, and, we decided to have a debate held at our church on climate change. And we brought in a diverse panel and debate team, people across the board on this. So we had like Dr. William Happer, who serves on President Trump's national security. I can already hear people sighing and groaning, other people cheering, depending on who listens to us. But we had him on as for the climate change skeptic. We had Dr. Pashier from Montclair State University, who's an environmentalist, scientist, and geologist who's studied glacial levels and things like that.
Is this a humble brag?
What's that?
Is this a humble brag?
This isn't a brag. So,
I'm just busting.
And I was, by the way, I can't claim success for bringing those people in because I wasn't the one who contacted them. But anyway, we put this whole event together, and we had people from the far right, the far left, and it got a little tense, and people were worried, like, what happens when. What happens if this fails? What happens if like people fly off the handle? What happens if people think your church believes this or your church believes that? And while I'd take those questions seriously, and I could worry about them to an extent, maybe I do. I have a bigger vision that I want to see a place for dialogue, because we're not dialoguing in our society anymore, and that's as toxic as the pollution going into the environment. And so we created this space, and there were some things that happened right and some things that didn't happen so well at all. And moving forward, hopefully we learn from those things that didn't work. But do I regret doing what we did? Absolutely not. We pulled 140 people in from the community. We had a vibrant debate. People went away mostly thankful it happened and learning something, and we move forward and we improve. But until you have that failure, and I'm not saying the whole event was a failure. The whole event was a success overall, but there are failures in everything we do that you grow and learn from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was definitely, for myself, because I mean, if you're not reflecting on how you do your job, at least, especially in our line of work as clergy and chaplains, you need to reevaluate what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have a very fresh, most people would not consider it a failure, but I consider it a failure of someone very dear to me who I walked with to her death. But at the end, because of the death process and her diagnosis, she was out of character of how she normally was, just because of what was going on. I can't share specifics.
Right.
And because of that, for my own emotional well-being, I withdrew. And I told staff, I said, don't call me unless she's passed.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah.
I still consider that a failure because I had to withdraw myself from that situation.
Yeah.
Because I knew, even though it wasn't her, it was her, but it wasn't her in that moment because we had a really rough visit. I visited her in the hospital with an intern of mine. And just because of the process, it was a very awkward visit.
Yeah.
She got very mad at me, and so I withdrew.
Yeah.
But I learned, okay, that may have felt like a failure. It wasn't, because I knew, okay, this is making me feel something that is going to hinder my ministry to her and my being present for her. So I'm better off withdrawing and let other people take care of her.
You knew the pastoral presence was about to come out at me and say, was that a failure? but it feels like one.
You were about to chaplain the chaplain.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it feels like one.
It feels like a failure.
Yeah, it feels like
you
one.
want to be there for everybody.
Absolutely. There are things that happened this year in my church that I wish had happened differently. You know some of them. That I could easily look back on and say, did I do that right? Did I do this right? Looking back, I believe I did do what was right, but it felt like a failure at the time. And every now and again, that question of did I really fail or did I succeed in this is still uncertain in some ways. So be careful. And Yoda, back to Yoda, will say, your feelings are a benefit to you, but don't get sucked too far into them because they are also a path to the dark side. And so we need to detach ourselves even to a degree from our own feelings, because if we let them run amok with us, this sounds very Buddhist, but it's true. If we let them run amok with us, and I think that's where Jesus is getting at when he says, don't worry, can you add a single moment to your lifetime by worrying? We need to detach ourselves a bit from that. Otherwise we get sucked into it, and that leads us down a dark and twisted path.
There's a healthy detachment.
Should have called this the Star Wars episode.
Yeah, Star Wars episode. This is the theology of Yoda. But there is in clergy circles and definitely in chaplain circles, they call that having good boundaries.
Yeah, good boundaries. Right.
Being able to acknowledge and detach. Now, you don't want to detach too far.
No.
Because you still want to be present in the moment.
Right.
But it's a
fine line.
Fine line, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. You can over detach and you can under detach. Yeah. It's a very fine line, and I think if you attune yourself to your own senses, and open yourself up to the Holy Spirit, I think you'll find that place of what's the right balance. Right. But there'll be failures and successes along the way. Right. That help inform that. If you look
at the way I look at it, if you look at the ministry of Jesus, he is always retreating away from.
Yeah.
He goes in, he does ministry, and he says, "All right, let's go out to the countryside." Yeah. And he retreats. And when those moments when the crowds follow him, like with the feeding of the 5,000, he has compassion, and in the moment he says, "Okay, I'll break that boundary and I'll feed you." But he establishes boundaries by taking his disciples away from the crowds.
Yeah.
because he knows that it's important for him to pray and recharge, but it's also important for him to be in that time with his disciples,
Right.
nurturing that relationship.
Jesus, I think, is a lot like you and I. I call him and myself too, the extroverted introvert. At his core, he's introverted, but he knows how to handle himself around crowds.
I've totally preached that. I've preached that.
Yeah.
Especially with the feeding the 5,000. I've preached that Jesus was an introvert.
Yeah.
He was, as I call it, a socialized introvert.
Socialized introvert, or extroverted when he needed to be, but it drained the life out of him, and he had to go up on a mountain afterwards by himself. In fact, if you know Sal and I at all, we're usually communicating via text in a dark room by ourselves.
Yep.
Like, hey Sal, how are you doing? Good. You? Good.
Yep.
And then 15 minutes, a half hour, 5 hours go by, and then we text something else. But our normal, natural place is by ourselves.
Yep.
But we're in a field, a vocation that doesn't allow us to be by ourselves. Yeah.
You just look at it. Jesus had to fell asleep in a boat in a storm because he needed to recharge.
Yeah. So, I think that's a good place. Yeah. I think I don't know about you, Sal, but my hope for people listening to this podcast, and we kind of went into this loosey-goosey, like let's just have a fun episode and just talk about whatever comes up.
A very loose agenda.
Agenda, yeah. So what I hope for our listeners is that instead of wishing away the past and hoping for the future, live in the moment. Take each day at a time, each day by the day, and seize the moment. Carpe diem, right? Seize the moment and really just live in the present and allow your dread of the past and your anxiety for the future to fade away, and trust that God is carrying you where you need to go. And if you fall off the path, guess who's there? The Good Shepherd.
The Good Shepherd. And I share this with residents and families and staff at my ministry setting all the time, and I actually got it from my work at the hospital. I believe it was one of the Buddhist chaplain who wrote it on the board, but I'm not sure. But it was one breath at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time. Mm-hmm. So just take it day by day, and we'll get there.
That reminds me of Rogue One. I am with the Force, and the Force is with me.
I'm one with the Force.
I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me. Yep. Yeah. I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me. Yep. Emmanuel, God with us.
God with us.
Yeah, remember, one with God, and God is with me.
Yep, and rebellions are built on hope.
Amen. So that, my friends, is our kickoff to 2020.
Here we go again.
Woo! Here we go again. As always, we'll be posting stuff in the episode notes. Look for our February episode, which will drop out on February 1st. We have a cool episode in store. But in the meantime, we're thankful that you have listened to us drone on about Yoda and other things.
Our random eisegesis of our thoughts.
Random eisegesis, that's right.
Yep. So we'll have everything posted in the notes. For those of you who didn't see on our social media account, I did have to start a new Twitter account.
Yes.
Because every time I tried to reset my password, Twitter said, you already did. No, I didn't.
This is kind of like a bump in the road for you in 2019, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a bump in 2019.
Twitter, yeah.
So slowly rebuilding my followers, and so we'll put a link to that in our notes. But follow us on Facebook, Party on Johncast, on Twitter, Party on J on Twitter.
Party on J on Twitter, partyonjohn.org, and whatever else we got there.
Yep. Find us wherever you find your podcasts and rate us and give us reviews, because that gets it out there.
And keep drinking the brew.
Keep drinking the brew.
Whatever brew it is. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Amen.
Percolated.
So,
okay.
all right.
Well, rock on, Sal.
Rock on.
Party on, sir.
And what do you normally say?
Be excellent to each other.
And don't be a jerk.